when it's snowing and the overcast, you can't see the sun, but you know you start losing light. And here comes this doe running straight at the hay bales. I mean, was fixing to run into him. And I guess she finally caught a glimpse of, you know, an obstruction or saw us move around or something. Because we actually had gaps in the hay and had it kind of covered. I don't remember what we put on top, but it was covered with something. May have saw movement, may have saw a dab at the gun, I don't know. But she turned tail, and all you saw was that white flag, and she was, and Dad shot her in the butt. I mean, it was, you know, luckily didn't hurt any of the meat. It was a pretty ethical kill, really. We got up on the doe, and you know she was harvested soundly.
That's old school right there.
Just old school. A lot of our hunts were that way. I remember hunting out of the back of my dad's F100 Ford pickup in a camper shed, no insulation, sitting on a bucket with just the, you know, it's raining outside. That was, matter of fact, the first deer I ever shot at. I had that 30-30 bolt action. A deer probably 60 yards away, and I flat out missed it. You know, I just couldn't see. But we had a lot of crazy hunts in makeshift blinds, stuff like that. But for me, that was the most memorable.
Hear the coyotes?
Yeah. I don't know if you can pick them up on the microphone, but we got some coyotes howling back behind us. Blah, 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 blah. I can't talk sometimes. What about your worst hunt today? Is something that just didn't work?
Garden City again. Different pasture. We were on the Ware pasture.
On the big one.
Okay. We had 5 sections of land. There was 10 hunters, all good old boys, sheriffs. I think we had 5 sheriffs. I mean, it was just that was where I truly learned to love to hunt. Is just the fellowship. We had a pit real similar to this. We had a bean cooker. You know, every evening we would cook out. Hey, we're back.
Yeah. Well, in case we look a little different in our seating position,
Take 2.
Take 2. We ran out of batteries. Did a lot of filming today. There'll be another video that you'll see with us and the kids. And thought we had enough battery life to get that interview in, and we didn't. So, as Jeremy said, take 2. So we're going to back up just a little bit. What was your most memorable? No, it was the worst time. The worst time.
My worst hunt was again Garden City, Glasscock County. We had moved just a little bit north to a different pasture. This pasture that we got on was managed. 2 out of the 4 sides were the same property, so they were managed. The other 2 were not managed. So we had really good deer there. Really good, big-bodied, big antlered deer. We, unfortunately, my dad and I, got at the very far northwest part of the land, down in the very bottom. I mean, it rolled off, probably 50, 60 feet down. And we thought it was away from everybody. It was going to be a great spot. We didn't see a deer. Every once in a while we would see, you know, something passing by on the other property or something, but we didn't have anything coming in. Well, one evening I went to go hunt by myself, and I get out there and the wind's blowing probably 40 miles an hour. And I'm walking in and I see the feeder, and I see that there's, I don't know, about 2 or 3 bucks. Nothing big. So, me being young, immature, not knowing what I'm doing, I'm going to get closer. Instead of just propping up on a tree and taking a good shot, I want to get closer. So I get on the ground and I'm belly crawling, just going to town. Every once in a while I look up and the deer are still down there eating. You know, the wind's in my favor. It's blowing a little bit, you know, a little bit further to the west, I believe. So I'm crawling and I'm crawling. Well, there's the blind about 100 yards to the feeder. Not good enough for me. I gotta get closer. So I'm crawling and I'm crawling, peek up, and all of a sudden there's no deer in sight. I spooked every dang deer off, and that was the first deer that we actually had an opportunity to shoot. That's probably, I'm guessing that's one of the worst hunts, just because I messed it up.
Yeah. Man, I have blown a bunch of them. It's just kind of how we were raised. I mean, you were taught the basics. Well, let me back that up. You weren't taught the basics. You were taught hunter safety from the very beginning. So you knew how to be safe, how to manage firearms. But as far as hunting skills, that was kind of go learn.
Yeah.
You know, in a way.
Well, it sounds like your dad and granddad are kind of like my dad and uncle. That's kind of old school. You know, all this new ethical kills and stuff like that, you know, nowadays is, you know, it's great. I practice it. I try to teach my son the exact spot, you know, where to shoot.
Yeah.
But back then, it's about putting meat in the freezer.
Yeah.
You know, you shoot pretty much where you got to drop them. You know, so.
I mean, we were always taught, you know, you want to kill ethically, but the hunting was really like, you know, a hay bale blind. You know what I mean? It was really unconventional for a lot of stuff. But yeah, I've blown a bunch. I guess for me, one of my worst hunts wasn't so much a miss, it was just bad luck. And I've had several of those. But this one actually happened last season. Jeremy and I both switched over to bow hunting 2 seasons ago probably. I know for me it was 2 seasons ago.
Last year for me.
Wishing I started that, man, way back. Anyway, long story short, I leave Midland to get to Aspermont, where our lease is, which is about 2.5 hours away. So I left at like 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30ish, around there somewhere. I wanted to be able to get in time. And I have one set up in the front, but there's a place where you have to go down and cross a river, and there's 30 acres back in the back where no one ever goes. It just looks like a great spot. I'd set out a trail cam earlier that year just on a trail, and had doe traffic. So I thought, man, I want to go hunt that. So I had previously went out there and set up just a little Ameristep, just a doghouse blind, just kind of a little one-man blind. Had it ready. Yeah, a little pop-up. So I get down to the lease, you know, grab the bow, grab the gear, go down, and you have to hike down into a river bed, a little stream, and it pops out into the big river. Cross it, go down about 150 yards, and then go back up in.
But just to get to the river, you can't even take a vehicle, a four-wheeler, ATV, nothing. You have to hike, what, at least 30 foot down?
Yeah, there's probably an elevation change of at least 30 feet to get to, that river, and then
it's rough.
And then, you know, snake your way through there. Yeah, I mean, it's just packing in. Now, we're not talking about Colorado elk hunting, you know, but
we're talking here, West Texas.
For West Texas, it's rough.
That's a West Texas mountain.
Yeah. So I take off through there early in the morning. We have a mountain lion that's been hanging around the area too, so I got that on the mind. Just thinking, I hope I don't stumble across this thing. It's darn cold. And we had an ice storm the weekend before, and I didn't quite factor that into my theory. And so when I get over, I have my trail marked with a piece of flagging tape at the river, so I know where to go in. And then I've been in there so many times, I just know to kind of follow this trail. Well, since we've had the ice storm, the grass is laid over, tree branches are broke, the path's not how it used to be. And I'm walking around and I can't find my way. I mean, I cannot figure out how to get there. I'm in the general area of where my blind should have been, and it's not there. And I'm walking around. And at this point, I was packed pretty heavy as far as my jacket and that stuff. So now I'm sweating. So now I'm getting cold because I'm sweating. Long story short, I can't find my blind. I actually find it, but it's not where it's supposed to be, and it's all wadded up in a pile. So I thought, man, I've blown this. I've stomped around too much. So I just sat down on the ground and just thinking, I'll wait for the sun to come up and take my chances. Because I actually got turned around. I lost my bearings of northeast, southwest. So I just plopped down, pouting like a 2-year-old kid because I felt like I ruined my hunt. And then I remembered that your iPhone has a compass on it. I thought, man, I know how to get back. So use the Boy Scout skills, find east, take off to the river, and I'm like 250 yards further down from where I came in. Run back up through the creek, get back across the field, and I thought, man, I'll just go hunt my normal spot up on the north end of the lease. Go past my pickup where my rifle is, trekking off in there with my bow, pop up in my next setup. Sun is just getting ready to start coming up. I mean, I had like no time. Really too late to have went in there, but I did anyway. Long behold, sun comes up. Been in there probably 20 minutes. And needless to say, this is probably my 10th weekend in the season. No deer, no sightings, no kills, no harvest. And here comes a pretty good sized shooter, 120 yards away, walking through the field. Well, those of you that are archery hunters, you know that 120 yards is out of your reach. It is for my skill anyway.
Aim to the sky.
Just had to watch him pass on. I mean, I was so upset I didn't even pick up the rangefinder, but I knew he was, from glassing before, that he was in that 100, 120 range. So needless to say, since deer are so scarce where I'm at, I will probably never enter a stand again without both my rifle and my bow, because that deer was the only one I saw the whole year. I hunted 3 more weekends after that, maybe 4, and nothing. Didn't see anything. So for me, that was probably definitely my worst. So I guess let's go ahead and bring this to a close, and we'll shift gears to the last question, which was, why is the hunting tradition, hunting legacy, whatever you want to call it, why is that important for you to pass on to your kids?
I don't know. I guess because I loved it so much growing up. I've got to share that with my kids. Now this is Gavrin's 2nd year out here with me. This is just the start of the season here in a few weekends, but I loved it so much. When my daughter gets 2 more years older, probably she hits probably 10, she'll be out here with me. I've already bought crossbow, so she's gonna be shooting a crossbow before she can pull back enough poundage to shoot a regular bow. I don't really know how to answer that question. I love hunting. I love everything about it. I love, the fellowship, just around the campfire, bringing people out here and just enjoying being out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. I've always loved it. I've got to get my kids into it. They'll love it. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's different for everybody. And that's a spur of the moment question, so it's hard to be prepared for that one. For me, I want to expose my kids to it, and if they take to it or not, that's their choice. I'm not going to be a forceful father of, you've got to do this, I leave sports up to them. I leave, hobbies up to them. But it's important for me to at least expose them to something that I had and something that I cherish. And if they take to it, man, that's great. If they don't, at least they were exposed to it. I almost think of it like survival in a way. I want my kids to be able to be self-sufficient so that way if there is hard times in the future, the future is never guaranteed. History tends to repeat itself. If there was to, God forbid, ever be another Great Depression or something like that, my kids will know how to harvest an animal ethically, what seasons to harvest what animals, how to be able to clean them, how to be able to process them, how to be able to provide for themselves or others, their own family.
Right.
Or solo, if something was to happen to them and they got into survival mode, at least there's something that they could fall back onto. What I hope happens is that they develop a passion for the outdoors and that they just enjoy unplugging from this world that's so full of technology. Everything's that instant gratification. I can have it now. Hunting, we want it now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Every time we get in that bind, we want it now. And there's those times where we may go weeks, we may go a month, we may even go a season without obtaining what we wanted, which was good quality meat that we can take home. That's what I enjoyed the most about it, is to be able to be in God's creation, like tonight. A beautiful night.
It is.
Got us a fire, ate hot dogs. It was a simple night. Worked hard today.
Stars are out.
Stars are
finally.
out. Yeah, finally. Excuse me. But to just enjoy what's not normal anymore.
Right.
Well, to just be out and
to add to it, they learn workmanship. I mean, you don't come out here and just, there's a box, there's deer, shoot it. I mean, we spent, 10 hours today?
at least
10, 11 hours, I don't know, working, solid work. I mean, getting campsite ready. The kids mowed, weed eated. I mean, we picked up and straightened up stuff, moved some electricity. We went down to I've got a spot down by the water, the Concho River, just up a couple hundred yards. We moved a feeder, filled feeders. We cleaned up around the feeders. I mean, we really worked our butts off today, and hot and humid. So I mean, it just, the kids helped out. They ran around and played like kids do. I more or less, I got a little irritated wanting them to help, but they did help. They did quite a bit. But just at least them watching us be steady, work, complete what we do. And when it comes deer season in 3 weekends, we'll be sitting in the tripod and, hopefully we'll be successful. All that hard work will pay off eventually. Put a few deer in the freezer, hopefully put some turkey in the freezer. So yeah, I think being down here, coming down here is never just, luxury.
Mm-hmm.
You're always working. You're always got to do something.
Yeah.
So it teaches the kids quite a bit.
And I enjoy that part of having land, a lease, where you can work it. You know what I mean? You have control of where you can set things up.
Right.
To me, I enjoy that. Hunting season for me is not 3 months long. It's 12 months long. The prep work, the scouting, all the junk work we did today.
Right.
Moving stuff around. I enjoy that. It makes the harvest that much more important. Because like you said, it's not just get in a box and shoot. I really, really enjoy it. Well, I guess that'll be it for this little campfire episode. Thank you for joining us, and by all means, if you get any opportunity, get your family out, get them hunting, get them outdoors, unplug from this world for one weekend. I promise you, it'll be worth it. I'm Kelly, and this is Jeremy. Thank you for tuning in to Elite Hunter. We'll see you next time.